Greetings, Pittsburgh Presbytery, and in honor of what a lot of you had to do this week, which was learn to do online church really fast, I thought I would bring you the P-News, the digital edition. So, it's been a really interesting week, hasn't it? It's been a week that in my lifetime is unprecedented. A lot of the seminal events in at least my lifetime and a lot of the seminal events in your lifetime were kind of one-time things, weren't they? They were things like the assassination of JFK. I remember talking to my parents, my grandparents, and they could tell me exactly where they were when JFK was assassinated. And I know in my lifetime, I know exactly where I was when I first heard the news of 9/11. And all those kind of moments seem to be these seminal things that happened. And now we face not a moment that has happened, but a moment that is happening. A season, not just a moment, but a season that will forever be etched into our minds. I was talking this week with my son. He's 12, and he was saying, "Dad, I'm never going to forget this." And he's right. He's never going to forget this. He's off school for at least the next 2 weeks because of the coronavirus. And, we're called to be God's people. We're called to be God's people in all times and in all places, and that includes scary times. In the midst of the coronavirus, we're still called to be God's people. And this week I had the occasion to go out to Crossroads Presbyterian Church in Monroeville. They decided for this week to gather together and have worship, and there was lots of hand sanitizer and lots of social distancing. But I was writing my sermon this week, and I'm someone who worries. I worry a lot. My mom has a phrase that if she's not worried about something, she's not happy, and there's a little of that in me too. And as I was writing this week and feeling a little overwhelmed, I was drawn to that passage in Romans 5 where Paul says to boast in our sufferings. I don't really like that passage, by the way. I think too often it can be misinterpreted as everything happens for a reason type stuff. And I'll spare you the rant, but no, not everything happens for a reason, at least not a good one. And so I struggle preaching about boasting in sufferings. And yet I think Paul's point's really important, that he says, boast in our sufferings because suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, character produces hope. And the hope that we have as the people of God is a hope that is rooted and is grounded in none other than God's decisive act in Jesus Christ. Our hope is not a vague hope. It's not a hope of something better. It's not a hope that is, all woo and out and crazy. Our hope is grounded in history. That God is faithful. That God is faithful for thousands of years. And so as we begin to do ministry in a very different time and in a very different way than many of us have ever had to before, may we be people whose hope remains grounded, knowing that our hope is not in vain. Our hope is not within ourselves, but our hope rests in God, who emptied out a tomb to show humanity and the world how much God loves us all. My friends, as we do this work, let us remember that the tomb is still empty, that hope is still alive, and that with all the good precautions to be taken, may we remember to be people who live by faith and not by fear, knowing that the ultimate triumph will always be God's. My friends, be careful. Take all the precautions we're told to do. Social distance, stay at home, do what you need to do to be safe. But let's not lose sight of the fact that coronavirus is not the ultimate power in the world. That position belongs squarely to God. We also want to let you know, and I would encourage you to reference back Sheldon's letters. There's been a couple of communications that have come out of our offices. Our offices will be closed starting yesterday. We have closed the office. People will occasionally be in and out, sometimes for meetings and rarely to check in, but we are doing our best to stay clear of one another. We do want to let you know, though, we are still very much on duty. We are still working. And if you need something, if something has come up, and honestly, if you need a person to talk to, give us a call. I know I'll be camped out here in front of my home office here, working away, available by video and phone. So if you need something, please know your presbytery staff is still very much on duty, but doing our best to to practice good social distancing in the hopes that in a couple weeks we've contained this and we can move on with our normal lives. Our prayers are with you this week. God bless and take care.